Bachman's Basement is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to Bachman's Basement, the place where the air is always a little still. The lights buzz like they're thinking about going out, and the stories we pull off the shelves have teeth. Down here, you just don't read its hell. You sit with it. You listen to its breathing. You wait for it to notice you. Tonight, we're not venturing into the cosmic abyss, nor into the dystopian rot like we did with The Running Man. No, this time, we're entering a much smaller, far more intimate battlefield. A single room, a locked door, four walls that don't stay still, and a presence that knows every regret you've ever tried to bury. This is Stephen King's 1408, a story about a place that hates you simply for stepping inside. A room that doesn't want your soul, it wants your sanity. A room that feeds on memory, grief, guilt, and the soft spots you've pretended don't exist. So grab your key, hold your breath, and whatever you do, don't look at a clock. Hey, it's your host, Chris Patton, and as always, I'm here with my good friend, Chris Clawson, and co-host. How you been, buddy? What have you been up to? How's the family?
Been good. Just business as usual, I guess. Work and then family is doing really well. We've been kind of doing the usual things that we've been talking about over the last several weeks. You know, we got back to doing another Dagger Heart session as a family last night, and that was a lot of fun. We got our first Adventurers Guild quest done last night, ventured into a cave as a group and fought some slimes and got a couple crates of gems and brought them back and got some gold. So pretty fun. Standard.
Did you have any almost near-death experiences this time?
This time, I think that we strategized better as a group. So we were sort of doing the fake out where two of us were kind of using our, attack while the other one was kind of moving behind him and moving the gold out slowly out of the cavern. So it worked out. That was a lot of fun. The family and some friends, we all went and saw the new Five Nights at Freddy's film on Sunday night, so that was awesome. Good time. I will say, it's like as an adult that the Five Nights at Freddy's movies are not my favorite, but they're entertaining, and for what they are, I think they're pretty good. I like the second one better than the first one. I just felt like it had a little more punch to it, more jump scares and things like that.
I kind of enjoyed the first one. I mean, I didn't really look at it as like a horror flick, more just like, hey, this is like a fun thing for all ages. Kind of like the Goosebumps movies,
Yeah. I guess, maybe that just means I'm getting old because I'm like I want to go to a scary movie, a movie that's billed as a scary movie, and I want to actually like get some goosebumps. Not to play on the word, but that I don't get that with that. I know it's made for a younger audience, but at the same time I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna knock on it too much and say like it wasn't a good film, because it was very entertaining and a lot of fun.
It's kind of a weird one because like it's not something I grew up playing. I know that like those all come from the Five Nights at Freddy's video games, right? Like the whole thing. And I just remember walking in GameStop one day and like Hot Topic and being like, what the hell is this? Like having that clear, like I'm too old to understand why people are so into this thing. It was kind of the same thing with Minecraft for me, like that, like
that's exactly, that was the comparison I made too when we came out of the theater. I'm like, I think as much as, again, I enjoyed the Minecraft movie just fine, but was it my favorite? Not at all. But that doesn't mean it wasn't good for what it was, or for the audience it was intended for. It was great entertainment. So I'm just trying not to like, just like, I guess, insert my, 40-year-old opinion into, this too much.
Yeah, so like I remember really enjoying the first one. I have already seen that the second one's kind of leaked on some various sites that I use to watch some movies for the 6M podcast at times. I already saw the second one was out there, so I kind of assumed that it was already out of theaters. But it's one of those like weird Peacock releases. So is it already out on the streaming?
I'm not sure about that. We went and saw it at the theater, so I'm sure it'll be on streaming if it's not already. It'll be on streaming real soon. That just seems to be the sort of the conveyor belt of movies. It's moving quicker than it used to.
Yeah, I know that the first one I watched on Peacock. So I was assuming it's kind of like the Halloween thing where maybe they're doing a double release or something like that, but I don't know for sure.
I think that they're sort of trying to back away from that. That would be my best guess, that they're trying to slowly back away from that model, because obviously they had to shift gears with the pandemic and find a way to get entertainment to the people where they were and make money off of, their productions. But now that people are able to go to the movie theaters again, they also don't want the movie theater experience to die. And I'm 100%, here for the movie theater experience. I don't want that to go away.
Right. Like I said, I just noticed it on one of the sites that I used to. It was listed as a new movie. So usually when that happens, I mean, this already went out to streaming and someone's ripped it and re-uploaded it. But in this case, that may just be someone had a bootleg of it, or I didn't watch any of it, so I don't know. I just happened to notice it when I was scrolling. But yeah, I liked that first one. I'll probably check the second one out. It's kind of one of those things that I can turn on and do something else, like practice guitar or whatever, because I don't have any real affiliation to it. Like, in fact, I don't know that I could tell you a whole lot about the first movie, even though I know I watched it. I remember enjoying it, but I can't tell you like any of the character names or anything outside of like Freddy and his gang.
Exactly. That was my experience with the second movie too. Even though I'd watched the first movie, I distinctly remember seeing it with my kids and my wife in the theater. I don't remember the plot of the movie other than, like they're the same guy who was, I think, a security guard at one of the locations, is also one of the main characters in this as well, and his daughter. So it's like, and the other, no, maybe he was just like the night help or whatever. Anyway, so it's like the three main characters from the first movie are in the second movie, and it makes it pretty clear that they were in the previous movie just from the storytelling. But otherwise, I don't remember how the movie unfolds that much, other than there's, these animatronics and that they're possessed by the spirits of kids that were murdered.
Yeah, it's like one thing I remember about the first one is one of the animatronics like is good and sides with like the kid because she's able to talk to it, and it's like that's the end of the flick. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen the first Five Nights at Freddy's, I guess. But yeah, like I don't remember anything else, like what the characters were like, what the names were. I think there was like a divorced dad.
Yeah. And that,
like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, but I remember enjoying it and being like, hey, this is kind of fun. Like,
this one, obviously, the sequel sets up a franchise, I think. I feel like the ending of this one is very much like, all right, I see that this is going to continue. They know that they have a hit on their hands with the first one. I think that the second movie is going to do well, and they're probably going to make at least one more movie, if not a bunch more of them. So that's fine, and I'll probably go watch them. Just
they seem pretty budget friendly too, as in the way that they decided to do some of the animatronics and it being like kind of limited film location. So I'm sure they'll make a bunch of these.
Yeah, they definitely had I think they had a bigger budget for the second one. Its scope is a little bit larger. There are multiple Freddy Fazbear locations. And a city, and there's just more people, more extras, and there's a school involved, and and so on. So it's like it's it's a bigger production than the first one, and yeah, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on it once you see it.
Yeah. For me, I've been trying to like at least watch something. I'm still watching Law and Order. Heads up to everyone out there. We have who I lovingly call Browse as the DA agent now, which is great. It's the Law and Order I remember. So I've made it through the early 90s Law and Order, which is just wild, by the way. Still recommend everyone to go give just like that first season a watch and see how different it is with Christopher Noth as the main detective and Agent Stone, or DA Stone as the main like lawyer for most of it, because it's just it has such a different feel. It's like way grittier than kind of the later procedural crime Law and Orders. But outside of that, I've been trying to at least watch one movie that I can talk about on each one of these episodes. And this week's horror BGM for me was the 1986 American science fiction horror comedy known as Night of the Creeps. Have you ever seen Night of the Creeps?
No, and honestly, even the title is not familiar to me. So yeah, tell me about it.
So it kind of starts out in like 1959. There's these two aliens on a alien race. They're doing an experiment on they're trying to keep an experiment from being released, right? And like they crash onto Earth. And they take one of these dead bodies, and it gets, you know how the government likes to keep bodies around or whatever from these, in theory, right? From like, it's kind of classic setup for a science fiction film. So it's in this cryogenics lab that's part of this college these kids are going to, and college student and his best friend, they have to steal this cadaver as part of like a rush week type deal. From the cryogenics lab, and they steal his corpse. They don't realize that this is the 1950s corpse. They just have to steal a corpse, right? And there's like these alien slugs inside the corpse, and they start taking over the bodies, and kind of gives you like a classic zombie type movie from there.
Reanimated dead.
Yeah.
Like kind of a zombie.
Well, like, yeah, reanimated dead, but also taking over the host, like the host that it attaches itself to. So it's kind of a little bit of both.
Okay, so living people get infested with these slugs as well and become like,
yes, yeah,
overtaken.
So it's kind of like Species, kind of.
Okay, that's cool.
right. But it's just completely ridiculous, like to the point where they know that they're ridiculous. Like one of the girls in the movie's name is Cynthia Cronenberg. Okay. That's the last name. So like it's a wink and a nod to itself a little bit. Came out, like I said, in '86, and it has all of the things that you would want out of that kind of movie. It's got great taglines on the movie poster. I wrote these down here. The good news is your dates are here. The bad news is they're dead.
Yeah. Then, I feel like the 80s had like countless B horror gems. You know, there's so many. And I need to go back and maybe do the same. Maybe watch one of these to give one of these up, you know, on the podcast in the future as well.
Yeah, I would say big thumbs up. There's two different endings for the film. There's a theatrical version and which I never knew this. I've only seen the theatrical released version, but then there's an original ending that someone told me about that I went and watched, and I recommend watching both. It's very, very different. So if you do go check this out and go find the director's ending on YouTube, it's out there. You can find it pretty easily. Also, this bad boy is on the Internet Archive. So if you're looking for a free way to watch it, that's out there. I believe it's also on Shudder. So if you have Shudder, it's out there as well on that platform. But yeah, I watched that. Like I said, I'm going to try to do that where I have something to talk about, because recently outside of work and doing these shows and playing guitar, there's not been a whole lot. I am playing an open mic this week, first one in about 5 years.
That's exciting.
So getting back out, getting the juices flowing. Got my friend Yako coming to play some bass with me, and it's going to be it's kind of the start of a new band, but we're going to start with some open mics and see how things go.
Right on. Yeah, that's really cool. So what's the genre? Like specifically, or do you have an idea?
Well, it's country alt rock. It's like my music. So if anyone's heard any of my covers out there, or if you've heard me on SoundCloud, etc., you Like if you found my Instagram, you have found me doing covers. So it's my stuff, but mostly all originals. But yeah, it's gonna be like kind of that stuff, more acoustic-y, country, alt rock, Ryan Adams, Drive-By Truckers, Lucero type sound and stuff.
Nice. Very cool. So you should definitely post if somebody films it, post some of those up, live performances.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing that. That'll probably I'm gonna record the set and tag it on to the end of not this week's episode of the Patton Report, but it will probably be the following week's episode of the Patton Report. So if you follow us on Boink Studios, you'll be able to catch some of that live performance, and probably we'll try to include some other acts as well if there's anything that stands out, and just give a shout out to the local musicians who are out there hanging and banging at local mics. Man, go out to a local mic if you guys haven't out there, listeners. It's
Got to support your local music.
Yeah, support local music, man.
Heck yeah, I'm here for it. I mean, I'm a non-active local musician myself, so
yeah, you gotta get back out there. Start crushing some open mics, man. It says someone who just said I hasn't done it in 5 years. So
yeah, it's like you realize there's only so much time that you have in your life to do so many things, and it's like I have been picking up the guitar more and practicing some new techniques, trying to get more into like the metal side of things. So it's like that's a work in progress, but
yeah,
I don't know.
You chose the hard work in progress, where it's like, oh man, I really got to just sit down here for an hour and work on arpeggios.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Been there.
Sure.
There. All right, so you ready to get into this 1408?
Let's do it.
All right, so it starts out with our main character, Mike Enslin. I'm not going to go through my whole script and notes of everything I wrote, but basically he's kind of not a hero of the story per se. He's a writer. He's not a true believer. He's kind of just like a skeptic who takes to writing guides about haunted hotels and tourist traps. It's not really a horror writer, more like if you think like Ghost Hunters.
Yeah, or even like somebody like Anthony Bourdain, except that not for food, but for paranormal, supposedly paranormal locations.
Yeah, it kind of gives off the real life Harry Houdini vibes of where Harry Houdini would just show up to places and have like gypsies and like palm readers and stuff come just so that he could disprove them.
Exactly. Like he's certainly like, I think in this world, his readers come to expect that he's probably not going to find the paranormal, but he's going to have some interesting things to say about the places that he goes.
Yeah, so he's just basically makes a career out of debunking supernatural for his readers who want a little thrill when they're trying to plan their vacations. So it's a little bit of it's like he's writing travel guides essentially to these haunted locations, and at the end just saying, hey, there's nothing there, but go enjoy yourself. But beneath all of that, Mike himself as a person is kind of hollow. He's trying to get over the death of his daughter. It's like really broken something inside of him. And instead of facing it, he's just been kind of really diving deeper into his work and into this cynicism and going to these and just into every haunted location he can hit. So he's hitting a bunch, just trying to avoid dealing with the death of his daughter.
Right.
He's not investigating ghosts so much as he's trying to drown out the death of his daughter more than anything else, just trying to keep busy and not deal with it. And to some extent, that's kind of what the Room 1408 takes advantage of and wants for him, right? Like, so yeah, that kind of takes us into the location, which in itself is a character. It's the Dolphin Hotel in New York. The room has its own kind of history. It's deadly quiet and efficient. Guests have died by every method you can think of. They go through it in kind of gruesome detail in the short story as much as they can, with it still being a short story. But we got strokes, heart attacks, suicides, drownings with no water somehow. Yeah. So drowning of yourself, like fluid in your lungs from getting sick, for instance, that can happen. And management doesn't hide the room out of superstition or like teasing the public, they're really scared because like pretty much everyone who stays in this room has died legitimately. So it's not one of the things that he's kind of used to, where he'll go to a hotel and they'll be like, you can't rent that room, it's haunted. And then he'll kind of have a give and take with the manager and finally get it, and they'll charge him a higher price or whatever. It's like legitimately the manager of this hotel is pleased. Like he's like, please, dude, just don't go in there.
Yeah, that. And this is true about the film and the short story. When we are about to start talking about, his run-in with the hotel manager and how this guy's just like, I implore you, please, just don't. Like, we'll comp any other room. You can tell people you stayed there. You could say whatever you want, but just don't go in there. And like, Mike's just like, you're crazy, man. Like, I just want to stay in the room. But the other thing that I wanted to interject real quick was 1408. The numbers add up to 13. It's on the 13th floor, and this in the real world, buildings oftentimes don't have a 13th floor. They just go from the 12th floor to the 14th floor. Like if you're ever in an elevator, you may notice that.
Yeah, so it's like something I never really noticed until I started traveling for work and got into some larger cities. And there's literally, it will go 12, 14, and you'll skip over a 13th floor. And then hearing kind of that lore after the fact, it's like, I guess that makes sense. People are just scared of it's the unlucky number 13, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Which I think Snake Eyes is more unlucky as someone who plays board games. Rolling a 2 is way worse than rolling a 13.
That's true.
Yeah. So getting back to our hotel manager here, that's Gerald Olin. He's the hotel manager, and he's kind of seen the room do things to people that no human mind should have to think about, right? In the book, Olin is very frantic. He's sweating. He's pleading throughout, every conversation he has with Mike, trying to get him to not stay in this film. And he becomes kind of a smooth, like sorrowful figure. And I think we'll get into the movie a little later, but Samuel L. Jackson does a great job in this role. For someone that's not done a ton of horror, I think he kind of encompasses how I read The Manager back. Now, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie, and it's been even longer since I had read this before us going into it this week. But a man, he's kind of a man that's seen enough horror to recognize when someone is about to willingly walk off a cliff, is kind of how I put it in my notes here. And he's just begging Mike to go, and like you said, he's begging him not to go inside. He's offering him booze. He's offering him upgrades to newer rooms. He even offered him a cash bribe in the book.
Yeah, and the story, the way it's sort of like this back and forth conversation is unfolding, it's like Mike is thinking to himself, he's like, this guy, like, I don't think he really believes room's haunted, but I think he really wants me to believe it. And he really wants to dissuade me from going there so that he can laugh about it, behind my back sort of thing. So like, know, that like the ghost hunter, I was able to convince him not to even go to that room. So not even for like public shame or anything, just for his own amusement somehow.
Yeah, and you got to think about it from the standpoint of Mike, right? Like Mike is going through, and he's been doing this like pretty much a different room almost every other day at this point, writing
for years.
For years. So he's encountered people that are just giving him bullshit, like a line of bullshit to scare him or try to make their hotel look better in his books or whatever. I would have immediately got that's not the case when they started handing me case files of all the atrocities that have happened in this room.
Exactly. Yeah, he's really goes into, and he's like, have you heard about this one? And Mike's like, no. And he's like, this really happened. Here's the news article about it. Right. He's like, I'm not trying to just fill you full of smoke here. I'm trying to save you from from a horrible situation. So.
Yeah. And you'd have to feel bad, like if Jerry
Olin was still alive today, you'd have to feel really bad for him if this hotel was a real place, because YouTubers would just be like, "Yeah, we're totally gonna go there."
Right.
You'd have like a death every other day.
I feel like, and it was even brought up in the story, like where Mike asked Gerald, like at some point where he's like kind of playing the devil's advocate back at Mr. Olin, saying, well, if this room really is as dangerous as you say it is, then why didn't you just say that it is your residence, so that, because the whole legal matter is like what he explains to him. He's like, well, why do you have to let me? I know you have to let me stay there because it's legally, there's an obligation. If nobody is residing in the room, then I have a legal right to rent that room in a hotel. And he's like, well, honestly, I don't want to go through, the government will eventually figure out that I'm not residing in that room, and then they will fine us. And I'm not going to, deal with that just, for the sake of, saving someone's who doesn't want to be saved,
Yeah. And essentially, like, Mike is kind of giving him this whole spiel, but it's like, that already. So you've already experienced this at some point for you to know the legalities of this stuff. So it wouldn't have mattered anyways. You would have just gotten him in trouble by being like, I don't think that guy really lives in that room. You know what I mean? And called someone and got this manager in trouble, because obviously you're probably not, he's probably not the only writer that is doing this. So the manager makes a good point here of like, I'm going to get, it would eventually come out because of weirdos like you. And to be fair to him, he is providing him with a plethora of other reasons not to stay in that room. Like I said, he offers him a cash bribe at one point.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is Mike isn't really scared of ghosts. He's more, he wants to write. He just wants to write. He wants to get in here and get creeped out and then figure out that there's nothing really there and write his skepticism, because he doesn't want to deal with the things that are going on in his life. And that kind of sets up him being the perfect prey for this room, which is everything that the hotel manager has alluded to so far, from those who haven't gathered that as we've been kind of creeping slowly up to the check-in here. So in my notes, Mike, he steps inside this room expecting like creaky floors and a bunch of stage scares. Kind of think like basically just like gimmicks, right? To make the room scarier. But what he gets instead is something far more subtler, like a room that begins rearranging reality around him. At first it's just wrongness, like color patterns in the room changing, a painting that changes expressions, and just like cold air, shifting cold air, digital clocks resetting to 60, like a countdown he never agreed to for an hour.
Well, even the, initially, Mr. Olin takes him up the elevator, and then he goes like, this is your floor. I personally, if I don't have to step off the elevator, I don't. So this is where I'm going to leave you. And then as Mike's walking down the hallway, he's like, it's down there on the right, or on the left, I guess, about halfway down. When he gets close to the door, he notices the door, and it looks like it's like askew, like it's not perfectly lined up. And then when he stops and he looks around and then he looks back, it's not. So it's like, even before he gets in the room, it's messing with his head. So
yeah. And then as the room is it starts the slow psychological torture, right? Of just things changing around you. Like the paint on the walls, like I said, the clock setting to 60 minutes, giving him this like crazy countdown. Then the room starts to really crack into Mike himself. It starts mimicking voices of his father, being disappointed. It twists his own memories. It turns his own recordings, his own vocal recordings for his book, into like against him. The phone melts at one point. The walls breathe. The floor wraps, or warps, not wraps, warps, like actually shifts within the room, and every minute the room is just getting crazier and crazier and more cruel and really digging into him. And in the book, it's very much like psychological torture, like something you would think of someone doing to you if they were trying to break you. Like, like auditory hallucinations, like I said, subtle visual shifts. Like I wrote in my notes, it gives you, like, as you're reading it, it's like this sensation that the room is rewriting Mike.
Right.
Like
exactly. Mike doesn't know
the lore of these hotel rooms.
His logical mind won't accept that this is happening. He's trying to find a reason, trying to explain to himself that it's because of all the BS that Olin told him, that he's psyching himself out, or, it's just whatever it is. It's not, the room's not haunted. He's, he ate something. Maybe the meal he ate is just giving him, some sort of stomach illness, and that's making him, combined with, whatever his, the manager's, warnings, just making him feel like this, and that all he needs to do is just have a glass of water and take a deep breath and everything will be fine, when that's not at all what's going on.
It's not at all what's going on. And the room isn't just content on just straight killing him. It's like that the room, as he walks in it knows, like, oh, this guy's a skeptic and he doesn't believe in anything paranormal. Let's see what I can do to break him. Right. And I mean, it's intense as far as what the room is doing. And if you think, like, if that was happening to me in this room right now, dude, this recording would be over and I would be maybe setting this house on fire.
Well, that's the other thing too, is like, it's like they've, I don't know, the room isn't haunted so much as it's like a gateway to some, like, awful reality that the human mind is not meant to endure, sort of situation there, where it's like sort of like being exposed to radiation, it's not natural and it will kill you, but probably slowly. And
it kind of has the feel of like Jaunt in that sense too, right? Like, we don't know how that is happening, where you're going during that process. The room has that, like, it's the Stephen King thing of, like, is Denny, right? Like, how many of these rooms exist besides this room is the other thing. It's definitely more of an entity than just a room or a haunting.
Right. I mean, maybe it's got the whatever is happening there is conscious and actively doing to the tenants of the room these things, but it's like, it's not a traditional haunting in the way of, like, some, like, malicious spirit, like you would expect in most ghost stories where people are being haunted in a house or something. It doesn't feel like that in this story, and King makes a point several times in this story to kind of reinforce that something else is happening here apart from some sort of, like, maybe it's not a demonic presence, not in the traditional sense anyway.
Right. Yeah. So next to my notes, I got the room is pissed.
Yeah.
It's the best way to put it, because it goes from just kind of slightly fucking with him to really, really messing with him. It escalates in the way a predator does. It's slowly, deliberately savoring the moment, watching Mike's sanity begin to fray at the edges. He starts seeing versions of himself. He starts hearing his daughter's Kate's voice. He's watching his memories wrap into just atrocities, nightmares. And in the book, he actually catches fire during a hallucination. He's crawling and he's disoriented and he's half conscious towards the door. The film almost takes it a step further, where the room kind of builds an illusion of this way to get out. And he wakes up and he's kind of outside and he's free, he's recovering until the room just takes it all back away, which I kind of like that about the film. It kind of makes the room even more of a dick than it already is.
Right. Yeah. That it messes with the viewer even more than the reader of the story. it expands on the idea that Stephen King had with his short story. So the movie does more, and that's not always the case, with these adaptations.
All right, and then he's never meant to leave this room. It's not happening for him in either version, the book or the movie.
Although he gets out in the book, and I can't remember because I didn't rewatch the movie for this. Although I own it and I've seen it many times, I can't remember how the movie ends. And I think the movie has more than one ending, doesn't it?
I believe so. There is a theatrical ending and a director's cut, and I have both of them here. I did not watch both of them. I only watched the movie again, so I did not go back and watch the director's cut, but I do have the notes on it. Okay. So I will talk about both. But the ending of the book, like you said, he survives physically, but does he really? He's kind of mentally broken. He can't ever write again, and he never really. It seems like the way it's kind of left, he never really returns to the world. And even the recordings that he has from the room,
nobody wants to listen to him because
no one wants to listen to them because they're insane
and they're disturbing. Like there's sounds that nobody, it's like that something is wrong. Something wrong is happening there, but you can't understand what it is. Like slurping sounds, weird noises in the background. Wow, that people are like they won't listen to the whole recording. They'll turn it off, 5 minutes into a 20-minute recording.
Yeah. So, and then as far as the movie goes, we got the two endings. We have the theatrical ending. This is the one that I'm more aware of, where Mike lives. And he reconciles with his wife and finds some closure when he hears Katie's voice on the damaged recorder. So it kind of goes a different way than the book on that one. And that's more of the send the fans home happy adaptation of the ending. Because in the book, it's kind of very bleak for Mike once he gets out of this room.
Well, yeah, that I don't recall, and I just reread this like last week. I don't recall that he had a daughter that passed away. I think that he was just a skeptic, and then the room really just messes him up to the point that he just can't even function in the world anymore. Can't write, can't do anything. He's sort of just a broken man that is just kind of just takes walks every day and is just existing.
Yeah, the daughter Kate may have been added for the film. I'm kind of combining things here a bit as we go through this. But Kate in the movie, he does have a dead daughter in the movie, John Cusack's character.
Right, which is a great addition. It fills out sort of the story and maybe some of the motivations of Mike as a character.
Yeah, and so I mean that kind of gives you, the book is like very colder as far as that goes. And this is it's kind of a unique book by Stephen King in general, because didn't he write this one? And this is something I read, so correct me if I'm wrong. He kind of wrote this like originally as a couple pages that's included in his book in writing, which is like about the creative process on writing, which is like about the creative process of writing. So the first like 2 or 3 pages are the intro to this story is from there. And then he later went back and created a short story out of it. Right.
That could be the case. I've definitely read On Writing, but it's been a while. And so I don't recall that being in there. But that doesn't mean it's not. So that's sort of that. I'll have to, look into that myself again, but definitely On Writing and also incredible, but not to get off track.
Yeah, I didn't have too much time to I wanted to go check out the specific passage that the internet seemed to be alluding to there. That's why I left that very vague it didn't include it in the script because I didn't have time to research it. So I wasn't sure if maybe you knew. But that seems to be like something that I came across a lot when I was researching this, is that at least the general idea, I don't know if he gave an example of this, but he apparently took that from On Writing. And then created the short story. But I said, as someone who did not get a chance to research that, I'm not going to say that that's 100% fact.
Yeah, I'm not. And again, it's been years, even as many as 10 years on some of these stories since I read them last. And of course, as we get to them and go into making these episodes for you guys, we reread them. But On Writing has been a while. It's been probably 10 years since I've read that. I just remember it being a lot of his own life, his young life, leading up to him becoming a published author. That seems to be what I recall from On Writing, is sort of like, it's almost like an autobiography as well as like a self-help tool if you are trying to become a writer, and like sort of the obstacles that every writer will face as they attempt to get their work into the world.
Yeah. So the director's cut, it just goes full. Mike doesn't make it out of the sumbitch. He dies in a fire. Olin attends the funeral. His spirit reunites with his daughter Kate briefly, but not in peace, kind of just like in echoes. So he's not with her per se. And then the those are kind of some of the differences between the endings. I could see why they changed the ending of the director's cut, because it's almost more bleak than the book to some extent.
Right, where the book is like,
still lives, but like, does he really? I guess, I don't know.
He's still alive, like physically, and he got burned, but not so bad that he couldn't have some skin grafts and be mostly all right.
I mean, he's alive, but like, it's clearly depicted as he is a shell.
Yeah, no, that absolutely.
He's an absolute husk.
Like, his mind is just totally wrecked as a result of spending just 70 minutes in that room. That was like the extent of his stay in 1408 in the short story, is 70 minutes. Whereas, like, I believe that it's like the entire night. Like, it pretty much goes on for hours and hours in the film.
Yeah, so some of the key differences between the book, and we've hit on some of these already, is that the short story is reading it can be kind of uncomfortable, because it does have like this, if you're claustrophobic, I don't know that this is the best story for you to read, because it definitely has this like, the walls are closing in on you kind of terror going on to it. Where the film's kind of a little broader, because you're seeing it visually, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't necessarily give me the same feel. Like the book legitimately creeps me out. And it's something I think about, or the short story, I should say, think about like whenever I'm staying at a hotel. It's kind of like The Shining, where it's one of those things that stick with you and you kind of wish you didn't think about it. Like when you're walking down a long hallway with bad carpeting from the 80s, which when I travel all the time happened very often.
So true. I mean, that's the thing, is that, Stephen King is just pretty well known for taking the mundane, common things that most people experience in their life and finding a way to make them terrifying. So that, I mean, he's pretty much done it for everything at this point. I don't know, like, it's like, now I'd be like, I don't want to know how you found all your other ideas. I'm like, what other ideas do you have going forward? Is there anything left for you to turn into a horror story?
Yeah. And the movie, it kind of gives you like a deeper emotional backstory, kind of like we were talking about with his daughter Kate, versus the book. Like as you noted, it's more just about his skepticism and him as a writer. You also get, kind of visual hauntings, which you get descriptions of in the book, but like seeing them on screen is a bit different. And kind of how I summed it up is I put the book is more precise. It's surgical. It's kind of unforgiving, whereas the film is more like, instead of a scalpel, it's more like a sledgehammer. It's very loud, emotional, and cataclysmic. And some of that is the performance itself from John Cusack, who kind of carries this movie for the most part by himself. Like,
the majority of the film is just him in the room, slowly just losing his mind. That is pretty much what's going on there in the film. And I mean, the film is fantastic. I think that either way, whether say you've never read the short story, but you've seen the film, give the short story a read. It's like takes an hour to read it. It's not a very long story. And the movie, again, it's about the same amount of time devoted. So like, if you have an hour and a half, you could watch the movie, and then you could also read the book in about that same.
Yeah, oh man, the book is like really uncomfortable for me personally, but that's what makes it so enjoyable. The movie is really, really good. I think Cusack is great in it, and Samuel L. Jackson is really, really good. And what I mean, unless you consider Deep Blue Sea, I think this is really his only true horror film, unless there's something that I'm just completely missing on right now.
Are we talking Cusack or
Samuel L. Jackson?
Sam Jackson. I'm pretty sure Sam Jackson co-stars with Cusack again in another Stephen King adaptation, Cell. Pretty sure they're both in that film as well.
Which I've never seen, so I don't think I've ever seen that.
Right. I mean, that one's taking the idea of cell phones and making that scary.
No, so not as good as 1408. Got it.
Not as good.
Yeah, so like I said, Cusack, he's carrying the movie pretty much alone, and the neat thing about the room itself is that they tried to use all practical effects whenever possible. So like a lot of the doors slamming, windows cracking, walls shifting, all that stuff was set design and hard work by the cast and crew. So shout out to them. I think I always love practical effects. So that
agreed.
Cool. If you're watching the flick, that's a cool thing to check out.
Translates better to the screen. Yeah, it's more affecting as a viewer.
And then Samuel L. Jackson's character, they give a bit more than Olin in the short story, but I think Olin in the short story is great in his own right. So in the movie, it's like Samuel L. Jackson knows a way to beat the room because he's studied it so long. They kind of give him that vibe. Whereas in the short story, this man is just terrified of this room, and he just doesn't want you to go in there because he's going to be the one that has to deal with the aftermath of it when you don't come out.
Exactly.
And then that I guess that kind of takes us to the end here. You wanted to start doing a Bachman's rating, and we have both the film here and the book, both that we talked. Do you want to give a rating to both separately, or do you want to give a rating to 1408 as a whole?
I guess I'll give it as a whole, and I'll give 1408 a Bachman score of 7.5 out of 10. I think it's fantastic, and I'm gonna try really hard to not overly score too high on some of these stories, but I think this one's really strong, and so 7.5 out of 10 for me.
I think it's my favorite of the collection, which we're the next episode of of Bachman's Basement is another tale from this collection of short stories. I think this is the strongest out of that entire short story collection. So I'm gonna give it. Oh man, because I went into this, but we're adding the film into it now too as well as a whole. So I'm gonna give it. I'm fine with a 7.5. I think that's good. That's kind of what I was thinking, like 7.5, because I want somewhere to go in case something really blows me away. Because I have not read every short story by Stephen King. I doubt many people out there have. So yeah, I'm good with. I think a 7.5 is very fair for both the book and the film combined.
Yeah, I feel like that. That there's something that you get from the movie that you don't just get from the book. And I wouldn't say that's true every time with these adaptations. So each in their own right add to the story. And as a whole, I think that very strong. I mean, 7.5, maybe I'm scoring it too low, but that's kind of what where I'm landing.
All right. Well, that kind of wraps us up. Chris, do you want to give your socials for everybody out there?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Facebook, Christopher Clawson, and on Instagram, Chris_Clawson 1982.
And for me, it's Christopher.R.Patton on Facebook and Instagram, and Chris.R.Patton on Twitter, which I check very vaguely. So if you're actually trying to get in touch with me and talk to me, maybe hit one of the other platforms. And check out Boink Studios. Boink Studios on Facebook, Boink Studios on Instagram, pretty much everywhere there's social media. Check that out. Check out our YouTube. You'll get some video there. The Patton Report's out there, 6M, Ray Sports and Slams, and the Bear Mode podcast, which is a review of the show The Bear. So if you're into that, check that out. Lots of good content by all the creators out there. We have like pretty much a show for every day of the week at this point. Monday through Saturday, with Sunday being off for everybody, I guess. But so there's a little bit of something for anyone out there.
Heck yeah.
But for now, that was 1408. A reminder that sometimes the scariest place you can be is alone with your own memories, your own regrets, your own ghosts. 4 walls, 1 door, and something inside that knows exactly where you hurt. Down here in Bachman's basement, we've talked about dystopias, monsters, killers, and creatures that live between worlds. But this is different. Room 1408 isn't a monster. It isn't a demon. It's a mirror held too close. So until next time, keep your keys close, your doubts closer, and remember, if a hotel room refuses guests, do it a favor. Leave it empty. Some doors shouldn't be opened.